Yeah. The present project was based on the second order adaptive network model for learning by counterfactual thinking. Uh, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the agenda is I'll start with the introduction and give you a brief literature review. I won't talk a lot about the network modeling approach because you already learned it in the course. I will talk about the scenario, the conceptual representation, and the simulation results and discussion. Yeah. So to give you a brief idea about counterfactual thinking, it's the process of deconstructing the current reality to imagine new one. And it's useful for making sense of the past, planning actions, making social and emotional judgments. For example, if whenever something unexpected happens or something negative, there's a tendency to think about what the person could have done. So that's why the title of the project that if only I would have done that. Like there are like two emotional functions to it. One of the emotional functions is to if there's nothing you can do about it in the future, then usually the person he tends to he tends to find the nearest possible scenarios, and he tries to sort of lower uh, his emotional feelings. And if there is something he can do about it, then he will learn and adapt his behavior in the future. Uh, uh, and it's just counterfactual thinking is also useful for AI applications. So it has been used in like multi-agent reinforcement learning and planning subgoals because there's a notion in counterfactual thinking that you learn from regret. So that is used in AI applications. To give you a brief literature review, the norm theory says that the counterfactual thinking is driven by simulations of previously encoded exemplars, and these exemplars are used for reframing the norms or the expectations about the current situation. There's also a model theory which says that the counterfactual thinking is engaged to the search space of possible alternatives. And I think D. Brigade in one of his papers, he said that well, when you think about like a personal memory, which is like an autobiographical memory, you run the simulations in your mind and on retrieval, and these simulations are also modifiable, and that leads to counterfactual thinking. And Bahrain, I don't know if I'm saying the name correct of the author, but she said that uh, the mind creates counterfactual thinking. They're like computational mechanisms. She specified certain algorithms. He said that like the algorithms take in the input and they produce the output, and the entire process, the interaction which happens between these leads to adaptation. Uh, Move on to the next slide. Yeah. So for the current model, the theory used was based on one of the papers by Van Hoek. He said that he proposed rather that counterfactual thinking depends upon the coordination of three neural networks: the mental simulation network, the cognitive control network, and the reward network. And he also said that the counterfactual thinking depends on the mental models of alternative possibilities represented in the form of mental simulations. Uh, so in the current model, like three processes are modeled: the activation, the inference, adaptation, and learning. I'll tell you more about it in the scenario, but just to give you a brief idea, it's just like simulating the factual state of affairs, that is simulating what has already happened. And that leads to some sort of like expectancy violation or negative effect, for example, failing in an exam. Then based on the previous memories, these simulations are run again and inferences are drawn, but not like all the possible scenarios, which only the ones which are very close or which are very relevant to the present situation. And that leads to the adaptation. So one one of the functions they said of the counterfactual thinking is that it also resolves, as I said earlier, the emotions. It leads to updating of the prior beliefs and learning. So yeah, it's also very useful for emotion and behavior regulation. Also interesting thing in the paper, the same paper, they said that rumination or depression and many other challenges may occur due to the person is not able to control the counterfactual thinking. So to give you, yeah, we already know about the network oriented modeling approach. You already learned it, so I won't go a lot into it. So yeah, so yeah, the network modeling approach has these characteristics, and yeah, we use the simulation environment to uh, yeah, and yeah, I use the combination functions, advanced logistic and step mod. Yeah, to talk about the scenario, like it's just like a raw scenario, but it gives you a good idea that Jimmy believes he can do internship and study at the same time, which he believes that, but he is not able to study enough for that because of his has his internship. He fails the exam, which leads to goal failure and the unpleasant feeling for him. This activates the prior memories which he has about maybe failing, and this initially evokes the mental simulation of the entire event. And the simulation, when there's a mental simulation, research has found that this happens in the default mode network. And the activation spreads to the recall of memories in a similar situation. But whenever such a situation happens, the search space is narrowed down to the most relevant memories. For example, uh, he recalls the time he joined private tuitions when he studied effectively and passed an exam. He also recalls the time he studied with friends or in a study group. He also recalls the time spent, the extra time he spent studying on the weekends. Uh, and when he runs these simulations, he draws upon like inferences of current situation and analyzes them. And he then provides certain values to it based on the nearness and other features. And these upward counterfactuals generate positive emotions that lead to the resolution of the current situation. So the current situation is repraised, uh, and yes, yeah, that leads to the adaptation and learning in the future. In future situations, so he updates his beliefs that yeah, in order to pass an exam, he needs to probably give more time, or he needs to join a private tuitions if he's like also doing an internship, because yeah, that's probably also important to him. uh, uh, to show you the conceptual representation on the, sorry, on the left side here, the red parallelogram you see, this is the current state. So the C1 refers to the context state. The BS is the belief state. The AS refers to the action state. So yeah, he takes the internship and he's not able to study a lot. Uh, and sorry, which leads to the worst state of like he fails the exam, and this leads to him feeling negative or unpleasant. And this is connected to the first order level, where it's like the connected to the evaluation stage, and the WBS1 stage is the representative state for the belief state. And you see the three states here, the CS1, CS2, CS3. These are the control states for the adaptation. For example, whenever he founds a resolution, a pleasant resolution of his situation, that probably if he joins private tuitions, he might pass. So that sort of stops the current negative beliefs or feeling states. Yeah, and uh, Yeah, and the CFAs are like the after the evaluation, the activation starts of the counterfactual thinking. So in the orange planes, these are the counterfactual thinking, and these are represented on the first order. And then so whenever these counterfactuals are recalled, they are, as I said earlier, they are based on the nearness. So the NS2, NS3, NS1 are the nearness stage, and they have persistency links to themselves. So is the evaluation stage. They have persistency links to themselves. And one of these stages is, so he finds a resolution which has a higher value. So the nearness value is higher. And thus only one of these future stage is activated in the future. I'll show you the simulation. Maybe that will become more clear. But like there are like a lot of states, and yeah. So yeah, this is probably more confusing, but yeah. So initially, the states uh, uh, the initial the present situation states are over here, and they go down once after the evaluation stage. And as you can see, in the future states, these are the future states. So only one of them gets activated, and the rest of the ones which are not near or which are not relevant to the present situation, they don't occur in the future. But yeah, once the resolution is found, the states which are the current situation or the feeling and the beliefs, they go down. So you can probably see it here. They all of them go down. Yeah, and to give you a brief discussion. So based on the theory, a simulation scenario was designed, and it captures the process of counterfactual thinking. Uh, the present situation contributes to theory building and understanding the process of counterfactual thinking. It can have applications in AI, for example, reinforcement learning, because there's the notion of learning from regret, and also saving computational power by or spending time by simulating in advance instead of actually trying something. Uh, and future research probably can add more feature to the evaluation part. So right now I had just like one DNS stage, but they have said that the DNS depends on certain factors like the uh, the person's own control over the event, the person's own internal valuation about the event. Uh, yeah, and these are the references. So thank you. And if you have any other questions, so you can